Is the Mandalorian footage real? Yes, but it's not a real game, unfortunately. It was made by me, single artist, in 4 months. Hear me out. Let me explain. Hi there, good people of the internet. My name is Christopher Turner. I am the artist responsible for the recent Mandalorian video, and I thought I would create a video here to kind of explain a little bit and come clean, as it were. I had not planned on creating this video in this way. I actually had planned a few other things until I saw some of the response that I was getting to the original video, which made me pivot in place and create this video instead to kind of clear the air, as it were. So to start off with, a little bit about myself. I am a game developer. I'm an artist by trade. I'm a character modeler, so I make the characters that are in games. And I'm also an educator. I teach at a couple of colleges in the Greater Toronto area, teaching game development to students. And last September, I started teaching a character class, and as I do with all my character classes, I created a character along with the students so that they could see each step being made along the way. It also helps to have them keep pace with me, so they can see how fast things are being done or how quickly things need to be done, and that's kind of where this whole thing started. So when I went to school for game development, I had a teacher who would explain to me that you don't want to recreate artwork that a professional has made, something that only exists in the public's mind from a professional. A really good example of this is Star Wars, where very fantastic artists at ILM put together these films and TV shows that are absolutely beautiful. And when you are a student starting out, you're not really good at anything. Nobody is when they learn things for the first time. And you don't want to be compared to one of these professionals. It's always going to not work in your favor. You're always going to look worse than they do. And this was something I took to heart as a student, and it's something that once I began teaching, I also started to echo to my own students, saying, don't do this. And this past September, I actually, while we were teaching remotely, which also had a great deal to do with this project, I received a personal message from a student who said, "Hey, haven't you actually been doing this for 20 years?" Which I hadn't really thought of in that kind of context before, and that maybe I could do Star Wars. And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? And so I have been very taken with the Mandalorian TV show, as have a lot of people, and I absolutely love it. And I thought, you know what, that's great. I'll make Din Djarin, and I'll make him as the demo piece for this class. And so last September, between September and April, I began work on this character. Being a character artist and having not updated my portfolio in a little while, I thought that I would add some renders of him to my portfolio. And this is kind of where things began to snowball out of control. It began with wanting to render him in something other than the default modeling pose where his arms are just out at his sides. I thought it might be fun to make him a little bit more dramatic, pose him, or what have you. I also didn't want a plain background. I thought it would be much better to make it look like he was aboard an Imperial ship or something of that nature. And so I started mocking up a hallway. Now, it's important to note here that while I do have knowledge on a lot of the skills required to make a game, I'm not good at a lot of them. I'm good at character modeling, but your typical environment modeling and things like that, middle of the road, maybe at best. And I did really try to make this all about the character. And so I started building these walls, and they weren't game resolution. They weren't low poly. They weren't unwrapped properly. They didn't have proper anything, really. But I just wanted them to stand behind Din. And I got this idea that maybe I would do this kind of peering around a corner pose. Maybe he's slinking around this Imperial ship and he's come across a couple of stormtroopers. Oh, wait, I have to make stormtroopers. I started creating some stormtroopers to put in the hallway behind him. And a very dear friend of mine mocked me on our Discord server, where he was like, so let me get this straight. You wanted to show off a character in an environment, and the environment that you made was more characters. Yeah, it was. And so I did that. And I didn't want to have just these static shots of Mando either. I wanted to kind of have the camera a little drift around a little bit. It always looks a little bit better when you do that kind of thing. And so I thought I would do that. I would add a little bit of drift to it. And then when I did that, I realized that he felt very static. I was like, okay, I got to put some animations on him. Now, one of the things about the video that a lot of people have commented on, and I've been watching a lot of the videos of people responding to this and having feedback to this. It's been beautiful to see. The janky animations have really come up in a lot of people's critique of this thing. And I couldn't agree more, man. I have screwed up these animations so terribly. I'm not an animator. I have taught an animation class and teach that stuff to students. But I don't do it. I'm not good at it. I know the mechanics involved. And in fact, I had reached out to a couple of animators looking to collaborate with me, saying, like, listen, here's kind of what I'd like to do. You want to get in on this? And the problem is that most of the animators that I know are working at studios somewhere, and the last thing that they want to do is put in, a regular week's work at a studio animating for a game, and then come and do it again for me for free. And so I was kind of left on my own. As was picked up by a lot of people, I use the advanced locomotion system from Unreal. This is available on the Unreal Marketplace. It is a brilliant system for people that are starting out and want to get characters up and moving in their game. As was noticed by quite a few people, there are some really fluid transitions in these animations. Having your character go from doing one motion to another motion, the ALS system is beautiful for blending seamlessly between them. And that was kind of where things kind of picked up for me. I realized, wow, not just is he animated now, but he's playable. And as soon as I ran up and down that hallway one time, I had to finish this and make it a game. The way that I can best explain this to people in a way that you might be able to kind of play along with me here. If you're hungry, it's great if you can go down to Johnny's and get a slice of high-end pizza. But sometimes you just waddle into the kitchen and make yourself a PB&J. And that's what I did. I want to play a Mandalorian game. I love the franchise, and I would love to be able to run around it as Din Djarin. And when I did in my game, I realized I had started making my own PB&J. And so I was like, well, I'll keep going. Let's see how far I can get with this. There was a lot of things I had to learn to get this to work. Things that I've never done in game development before. I've released dozens of games with companies in the past. I've been doing this for near 20 years. But I've always had a very specific role in those teams, and I've never actually ventured outside of my role too far. But this project made me do that. I had to learn things that I'd never done before. Some of it very apparent in the video. There are things that just did not go the way I wanted them to. This is the second take on AI that I had to do with the Stormtroopers. There's a reason in the video I kill them all at a distance, because if they get up close, man, they do not look good. Even at a distance, you can see some jank in them. The reason I had to rewrite them was that originally I had put the Mandalorian and the Stormtroopers on the same rig, the same set of bones that move the character, and a typo screwed up that whole system. The Mandalorian has a pelvis bone named Pelvis, as do the Stormtroopers, but in the Stormtroopers, for whatever reason, I had used a lowercase p, and that P screwed up the Stormtroopers and wiped them off the map. This video almost got released in June, nowhere near at the state that it's at now, only because I had completely broken them and thought there was no way I was going to start over. My wife and kids had gone to my in-laws for a break, and I was left at home with a week to myself to kind of finish this project up. And day one of my week alone, I broke the Stormtroopers and thought, that's it, we're done here. After a little bit of a panic attack and a little bit of reflecting, I thought, okay, no, I'll just get them up and working, and I'll finish it off. And it was really important to me that this look has completed a game as it is. So it's important to note that what you're seeing here is so incomplete. There are things that I specifically did in this game that make it look good. It's important to note that the footage you see me playing on the TV was actually just me recording a YouTube video of this gameplay that I had already recorded, and shoved my kids and my wife in front so that it looked like I was presenting it to a group. I wanted that shaky cam kind of thing because every time I online see leaked footage, it's kind of shaky cam like, and so I thought that was the best way to do it. I'd almost stepped this up a little bit, and I think COVID would have been the only thing to prevent me from doing that, which is being that my wife and I are teachers. I almost got a projector out and showed it like it was going to be somewhere else, but I ended up just the resulting video here was just shot in my studio here at home. And again, I did this because I love Star Wars. I mean, you can see behind me here, I'm fully decked out in Star Wars all the time. This is not set dressing for this video. This is a franchise that I've been infatuated with since I was a kid. Empire was the first movie I ever saw, and it is the movie that I've seen by far more than anything else. I DJ'd for a couple of years when I was a teenager, and playing music all day. You don't then want to go home and listen to music. I kind of would get fed up with music, and I didn't have cable TV. The internet wasn't really a thing back then, and so I had an old VHS. I had an old VCR and a cassette, and I had recorded The Empire Strikes Back from TV, and I watched that movie on repeat for 2 years. And so I am acquainted with the Star Wars lore, and I'm in love with it. I think it's fantastic. It is such a great franchise, and so that's why I started doing this. So I make this character from September to April in school. It's now August, and the reason the video is dropping now is that September is about to hit, and I have to go back to school again. And so this was a 4-month little passion project that I did over the summer of just, keep myself busy, keep my skill set up, and make something that I would love to play. A lot of people are commenting on the Stadia blade that appears at the end. I've seen a lot of videos of people freeze framing my video saying, no, it's got to be legit. Look at how good that video looks. And some people saying, no, that's not how the Stadia blade works at all. And it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that. So a lot of people were saying I couldn't fake the Stadia blade, and I could. I didn't do it in post. I actually just, it's on, I bound it to a controller pad button. If I press left on the D-pad, the blade comes out and does what it's supposed to do. The way that I recreated that, and I'm going to release a video later on. I'm going to go in depth into how I made a lot of the things that I did if you want to see how those things were created. But I'll give you a little snippet here of that. The Stadia blade, I love Stadia. That's where I play most of my games. If you look over here, you can see I've got a little Stadia pack here. I've been there since day one with Stadia. I love playing there. And so that's why I use Stadia here. It wasn't to incite any riots or anything like that, or have any of the fans start chewing at each other. It's just because that's where I play. And so I created the blade by opening Stadia, playing a game, and hitting the Stadia button, letting the blade come out. And I screen grabbed it, brought it into Photoshop. And there were a couple of things that I needed to do to make it look legitimate. I removed the name of the game that I was using. I found the right font that they use. I replaced it with Star Wars The Mandalorian. I also, my nephew and my kids are in my friends list, and I couldn't have that. I know a lot of people that have been looking at the Stadia friends list there have been like, I don't get it, what's going on? And so I wanted to change their names. I'm very protective of children on the internet. not a thing that should happen. And so I took their names out and replaced them with monikers. My son actually picked his moniker and picked his sister's moniker, as well as that for their cousin. The only other person in the friends list is a former student and now colleague who works in the industry. And I asked him, I said, listen, I'm going to put this thing up. A bunch of people are going to see your name. Do you want me to change it? And he was like, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. And so I left his name in there. I also left my name in. And so that is literally just a piece of UI. I press left on the D-pad and the blade comes out and the screen darkens and it says pause, all of which is just done on the D-pad. It was as easy as making the menu or the map appear on the top of the screen. And so, I will go in a little bit more into depth in a later video explaining kind of how I did some of the things that I did. The only other thing that I wanted to address is some of the audio. So I'm well aware that the AI is janky and that the animations are janky. Obviously, I'm not an animator. I wouldn't even pretend to be an animator. When it comes to audio, I have been a musician for quite some time, and a lot of people picked up on where the music came from. And that is something that I wasn't going to be able to hide. And so I made sure that I was... Star Wars audio is very identifiable. It is very beloved, and it is very owned by other people. And so I wasn't going to be able to get away with putting legitimate Star Wars music in this video without getting a copyright strike. And so I reached out to Nathan Mills. I will link him down so you can check out his video. He, as was noticed by a lot of people, it's not a surprise. The dude's got, over 3 million views of his Mandalorian theme. I contacted Nathan and asked if he would be so generous as to let me use his rendition of the song for the menu, which I did, and that's what's in there. Nathan was a good sport and said, have at it. And so that's why that's in there. The other audio that was troublesome was the chapter cards that come up. So once chapter 4 is selected and the game starts, you get the Mandalorian come up, and then you get chapter 4, the escape, come up. And there's very identifiable music from the show that appears there. And to keep it authentic, I needed to find a way to create that music without it setting off the sensors or getting me a copyright strike. And the way that I did that was by using a little piece of software called GarageBand. Creating a version of that song that was close enough that it sounds legitimate, and then just using all the tricks that I had at my disposal. I played the cello part on my acoustic guitar and used Audacity, free audio software, to pitch it down to make it sound like it was actually a bass or a cello. There was no way I was going to be buying a $3,000 bass recorder, which is what plays the signature melody or the signature piece from the show. It was just too expensive for me to buy. I don't even play recorder, and so it would be impossible for me to do that. But I did buy an alto recorder, and like I did with my guitar, I played the do 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 and pitched it down, and sounded like a bass recorder. And so that too is what you hear in those chapter cards. I gather I did a better job of that than anything else, because I haven't seen a single comment about that music, which makes me think that more people were willing to accept that. I also echoed a lot of the things that Ben Burtt did in the original Star Wars and how he created some of the sounds. Most of them were created with that microphone. They were created by me recording things that I had around the house. I ruffled a pair of jeans in the microphone. The footsteps, they came from ALS. I figured I wasn't going to bother recording them. It wasn't worth my time. But almost everything else came recorded from this microphone. From reloading my son's Nerf gun and tapping on a piece of PVC pipe to having my daughter come and speak lines of dialogue into here, and then using oscillators and putting it through a sine wave in order to make it sound like an astromech. C2B5 that you see rolling around in the video is my daughter's voice. And so, yeah, I used a lot of tricks like that to try and get it to work and do the things that I wanted. In the end, you're watching playthrough number 31 when I recorded it. It took me a lot of recording times to get to a point where I was happy with how it all played out. There were things that even then you'll notice are going to be different with the real recording I place out here. There's no Stormtrooper dialogue. And the reason there's no Stormtrooper dialogue is that I had the Stormtroopers set to only 20% of the time or something like that. They would speak. Otherwise, it was just a cacophony of Stormtroopers shouting at me. And so I said, okay, only 20% of the time are you allowed to chat. And that would generally make it so that only one or two of them spoke. Out of just pure happenstance, recording number 31, none of the Stormtroopers spoke. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? So I took the recordings of the Stormtrooper chatter and added them in after the fact using After Effects. It was the only way I could get that back in there. That being said, there's a lot of artwork that didn't make it into this. There's a lot of things that didn't get into this. And so, yeah, in essence, this is not a team of indie people, as was guessed at. This is not a student project that was guessed at. This is one fan, 4 months, putting together what he could. It's my PB&J. Where I would like this to go, when I dropped the video, I was pretty much done with it. And I expected a cease and desist letter within days, if not within hours. And I still haven't heard anything. And so, I don't know. Maybe it's worth trying to see if I can make this an actual game and push it further and see if I can't get some backing. I haven't heard from Disney and so or Lucasfilm. And so I don't know what their opinions are. It might be just small enough that it's completely under their radar. But yeah, I mean, it would be fantastic to be able to make something like that. That would be the icing on the cake for my career, is to work on a franchise that has been a part of my life since I was 5. But that's how this all played out. I'm going to place some links here in the bottom. As I mentioned, I want to link to Nathan Mills, who was gracious enough to let me use his audio. I'm going to also link to my ArtStation, where I've posted the character models that I used on this project already. You'll be able to see them in a much clearer light and in a much better way. And I'm going to shortly post the not shaky cam version of the video that you saw. So it'll be nice, clear, and high res. It's not 4K. I don't know what I was thinking. But when I recorded it with OBS, I had it set to 1080p. The game runs at 90 FPS on my 4K monitor, and so it is pretty decent the way that it runs. And so I'll post that for you guys to check out. And I want to thank everyone for the love that I've been getting for this and the support that I've been getting, and for all of the lovely comments of people saying how good this thing looks. And so I thank you. It has been a labor of love, and with September around the corner, I got to go back to school. And so thanks again for watching, and check out those other videos once they drop, and thanks again.